I don't fit in no box, I built my own lane. Truth's my compass and passion's my flame. One day it's love, the next it's news. Sometimes it's pain, sometimes it's the blues. I react, I reflect, I keep it 100. No scripts, no gimmicks, just thoughts unbundled. So if you feel truth, if real is what you seek, you just found home. Welcome to Miss Akemi.
Hey, y'all. Peace and blessings. Come on in, y'all. Come on in. Come on in. Listen. Look, I don't know who my mom. Okay, we got Sis Laverne in the building. Please drop your link to your channel. Y'all, if y'all did not see the live that Miss Yo Thoughts just did, please go do so on the replay. You will not be disappointed. I promise you. I promise you. Listen, come on in. Hey, James. Peace and blessings to the chat. I appreciate y'all. We're going to get into it today. I know there's a lot that's been going on. And there's a lot that's been taking place. And it's probably got people, stunned, confused, all of these different other things that's going on, these different emotions that people may or may not be able to explain, but we gonna cover that. We gonna cover it because I'm coming from the perspective that is deeper than what we think. It's deeper than what we believe. It's deeper than what we have been shown. It's deeper than how we interpret things. Things are always the truth seems to always be beneath the surface, right? It always seems to be not exactly what is explained. People push narratives they want to push. They push stories that they want people to get. They want to entertain us. We have, in my opinion, mistaken life as sheer entertainment. And it has desensitized us, in my opinion. It has made us numb to a lot that's going on. Has normalized shit that should not be normal. I don't know if I hit the 2-minute mark. YouTube, Peace and blessings to you. It is what it is. Because we just saw, if you looked in the right place, we saw a whole man get annihilated and unalived in real time. And it's still on the internet. And then a couple days before that, we saw a whole female get stabbed to the point where she didn't even know what the heck was going on until she keeled over and her life was snuffed from her. This is in a matter of 48 to 72 hours, give or take. And it really got, and then I'm looking at it like, okay, this is like super close to 9/11, where 25 years ago, was it 2000? Where life changed in this country as we know it. There's a lot going on. And we're going to talk about, not necessarily, we're going to highlight some things that have been happening because we don't want to just keep shoving it down your throat. That's how they normalize things. That's how they made it acceptable. Where we got people that are being assaulted and unalived in our presence. We don't, and when I say we, I mean collectively, we don't try to assist, to intervene. We get up and we grab our purse and our wallets and we walk off. Like it never friggin' happened. We gotta do something about that. This has been priming. This has been decades upon decades upon decades of conditioning, of giving us so much entertainment that now we look at it in real life as being a normal situation. So we simulate it as if it's on a video game. We simulate it as if this ain't happening in real life. We don't know how to separate the two. If it don't apply, let it fly. But from what I've seen on the footage that I've seen in real time, there's a whole lot that's wrong with what's going on today. And people's lives are being taken in the blink of an eye, but ain't nobody blinking an eye. We moving along like ain't nothing happened. We got media, the media, pushing narratives, telling us what to think, how to think, what to believe, what to get emotional about, what not to get emotional about. It's like culturally we have become numb to people's lives being snuffed out, whether we're in their presence or whether we're watching it on a video screen. So, with that being said, peace and blessings to everybody. For those that may catch the replay, please tap that like button. For those that are coming through upon the live spot of my voice, tap the like button. If you haven't subscribed, consider doing so. Today is going to be not really focusing on the actual events that have been taking place, because I believe that you've seen enough at this point, especially if you're watching certain social media platforms. It's been shoved down your throat enough to where you don't need to see it regurgitated over and over again. But I want to come to it and speak about it from an avenue of it being normalized. That's a problem. We got a young mother. She was a refugee that escaped war from her native country and was brutally unalived in front of passengers on a Charlotte train or rail. And what got me was on the footage, how many people froze that saw it happen. And they just seemed to have watched. And I don't know how many other people that startled, but it definitely startled me, because I come from an era where when even like, say, something out of the order or out of the ordinary took place, people acted. Even if it was inappropriately, they still did something. And what that footage did for me was it showed me something dangerous. That we're living in a time where violence is unfolding before our very eyes, and we do nothing. We show no empathy. We show no sympathy. That seems to have slipped away from us in real life. Even if it's because of fear. I'm not saying fear isn't real. It is. However, silence in the face of being unalived, in my opinion, is a sign of cultural decay. And while that's real world silence, I attribute and place the blame largely to social media, where Charlie Kirk's unaliving took place in real time in Utah yesterday, just yesterday. And you know what I found? And I have to say, I was mortified. Listen, we're going to get past who he is, who he was, what he stood for, how many people disliked him, whether he was white, black, or another nationality, his views, his belief systems. At the end of the day, he still was human and had a right to vocalize his opinion without the concern of being snuffed out because of his opinion. And whether you liked him or not, until yesterday, he was still a human being. I don't have an opinion one way or the other. I have seen some footage, and we're going to show that. We're going to show all different vantage points. But what shocked me was people actually laughing and mocking him being unalived. And what that did, again, within a very short span of time from the young lady being unalived on public transportation system, it indicated to me a sign of how far we have fallen as a people, how political disagreements have become, but should never be, the point where you erase basic compassion. I have a problem with that. So to start off with, we're going to cover the young lady in just some small clips, but I want to give context. Let's go.
911 system. Brown's own mother told local reporters she did not believe her son should be out in the community, citing serious mental health problems. In response to all this, Charlotte's mayor is telling the community, quote, We need a bipartisan solution to address repeat offenders who do not face consequences for their actions and those who cannot get treatment for their mental illness and are allowed to be on the streets. So Bill Brown is currently being held without bond while his defense completes a competency evaluation, and he is set to appear in court next in about 10 days.
Okay, Madison.
So they're speaking of her actually being unalived, the situation in where she was unalived, and there seems to be even more of a culmination of things that have taken place, because the judge that, with the gentleman that unalived her, right? He had been arrested for 14 occasions and released, and now the scrutiny and the magnifying glass has been put on the judge. And then as digging has taken place, they have found out that she is a magistrate judge. And this, to become a magistrate judge in the state of North Carolina, it is not required for you to actually complete law school. So we have people that are in the jurisdiction position of really determining the outcome and the direction of people's lives, stating that, okay, even though this man has been diagnosed medically as schizophrenic, he's been arrested 14 times, but based off of the last time that he got arrested, it was for something minor. So we're going to let him out. Now, I have my opinion, because I do believe that there are other entities that aren't discussed per mainstream media, that aren't welcomed per mainstream media, as far as mind control, MK Ultra, things of that such. But I have to be honest, and I have to tell the truth, because what doesn't seem logical usually isn't the 100% truth. Usually. Getting back to how numb we've become. It's like people being unalived rolls across the news to the equivalent of sports scores. Look at the sports that we have in the industry. Most of them involve a level of violence. In entertainment, in sports, movies, conversations, comedy, as well as real life. Death has become content for memes and hot takes. It is not the tragedy that is rare. It's that at this point in our history, it is expected. That's troubling. When suffering becomes background noise, in my opinion, society has lost its soul. This is problematic. This is problematic. Let's go on to the next clip where they speak on the judge stating, or the judge's laws and the requirements or lack thereof in the state of North Carolina that absolutely enabled or provided loopholes for this gentleman, instead of being locked up or evaluated and locked up upon evaluation, they let him out. Let's look.
Judge is under fire for releasing a man who later killed a Ukrainian refugee. Magistrate Judge Teresa Stokes released Carlos Brown Jr. without bond despite his history of mental illness and prior arrests. 7 months later, Brown stabbed Iryna Zarutska to death on a light rail train. Zarutska had fled Ukraine seeking safety in the U.S. Even Brown's own mother said the court system failed by releasing him. Stokes is not a licensed attorney, which is permissible for magistrates in North Carolina. Critics are questioning.
So she wasn't even or isn't even a licensed attorney, but has the capacity of a judge to grant this man freedom or otherwise, whether to put him through a program of evaluation to make sure that he is not released to the public until the results of that evaluation have been revealed and predicted, or, the outcome has been ascertained, right? So we are looking at the qualifications for someone that has such a responsibility to keep the public safe and to put those that are potentially harmful to our citizens behind bars.
Whether her background in addiction recovery activism influenced her decisions. Some are calling for an investigation. A legal expert says Stokes didn't adequately consider the danger Brown posed. The district attorney acknowledges systemic failures in handling mentally ill offenders due to a shortage of psychiatric beds. Republicans are using this case to criticize soft-on-crime policies. Brown is now in custody awaiting trial for Zarutska's murder.
So I want to touch on this for a second and follow me here, because I'm going to go unilaterally from subject to subject, because I believe that there's a lot to be considered here. The first thing I want to talk about is the fact that this attention at this point in time, where we have the president, the sitting president, no disrespect to anybody, I just got to call it like I see it, where we have martial law, military being called on certain cities, inner cities that seem problematic with crime in the country. And one of the biggest subjects, or the subject matters in our country, is crime, is safety, is we got to keep our citizens safe. So now we feel the need in a lot of major inner cities to call upon the military, National Guard, police presence, amp it up, get more federal funding for it, put the spotlight on it, create more federal laws to protect the citizens of this country. Now, the question that I have, no disrespect to anyone, but one of the questions that I have is this the only incident that needs to be brought to light, or have there been other situations and incidents that have been brought to light where it hasn't gotten as much coverage or reveal as this one is bringing? So we got Elon Musk that is absolutely just donated $1 million to supporting and funding the murals across this entire country for this woman that was not born and raised in this country. I would like to know, why is the attention being so centralized on her when we have had, for how long, incidents on public transportation, people being unalived, people being assaulted, people being injured, people, no matter what the circumstances, whether it was at the hands of someone else, whether it was, coincident, depending on the person that's observing the situation. Why is this particular situation garnering so much attention and so much coverage at this very point that we're speaking on? I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this particular story because we can still got to talk about Mr. Charles Kirk. But I want to set the precedent and the storyline to speak on not just the numbing of the culture when it comes to people being unalive, but the disparity of how, when it comes to certain cultures, they don't get that same type of exposure, that same type of attention, that same type of attention that should be garnered, because all life should be equal, right? I'm just asking. So whether you're very well melanated or your pigment of your skin is very light, life should be life either way you look at it, in my personal opinion, right? But there was a story and a situation of a young lady back in 2018 that was unalived again on public transportation, on a train. But I didn't hear about this story until a couple of days ago, around the same time that Miss Iryna was unalived. But this young lady was actually born and raised in the States. I'm only going to give a brief clip of her story and her situation, but I want to bring some awareness because up until, like I said a couple of days ago, I never heard of it. Let's go.
In the white shirt. This is 18-year-old Nia Wilson. She is getting off the train like many other people in this crowded station. Watch again. This time, pay attention to the man behind her in the white and gray hoodie. He follows her off the train, pulling his hood down and taking off his sunglasses. He looks around as if to plan an escape route. Then he reaches down, pulling something out of his pant leg. Look closer. The item he pulled out is a knife. He quickly covers it up with his sweatshirt. No one else in the busy train station has noticed. The girl he's following, Nia, is on her way home with two of her older sisters. Moments later, he attacks, stabbing her 2 times in the neck. In July of 2018, a tragedy unfolded that would shock a community, ignite national conversations, and leave many with questions. The life of 18-year-old Nia Wilson was cut short in a brutal attack that took place on a Bay Area transit train in Oakland, California.
Is her life any less valuable than anybody else's that was taken under unwarranted circumstances in the similar situation? Because she, Miss Nia Wilson, and I want to say her name, was also unalived 7 years ago. But again, some people may have heard of it prior to recently. I did not. But I know of Miss Iryna. I know of her situation, even though her situation happened back on August 22nd, but it made mainstream media, ironically, a few days ago. Just around the time where we have the current president of the United States launching war by launching or positioning the military to deal with crime in certain cities in this country. Numbers mean something. Words mean something. Timing means something. So if this incident happened back in August 22nd, we are now in the middle, almost in the middle of September, and it's just gaining momentum. That's an issue for me. I'm just saying, right? Or that poses questions for me on the behalf of why now and why not when it took place? Why not within a few days of it taking place? Why not within even a couple of weeks of it taking place? If it was so significant, why just now? So I want to take a moment to say thank you, Cutting Edge. I appreciate you not only just gifting a membership or 2 memberships, but also being a member. Appreciate you, appreciate your support. And for those that may be watching that were gifted a membership, please don't hesitate to thank him for yourself for doing so, because he didn't have to. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. So we've got another wonderful secret. Says it's pretty clear that doctors, engineers, and everyone else who went to college is responsible for this. I think it's a cumulative effort. However, when it comes to the judge as well, she was the one that was absolutely in the position to either order further testing, to keep them incarcerated, or to release him. And so I think that's why a lot of the scrutiny and the attention has been put on this particular judge, though there's always a rabbit hole. There is always a chain of command. There is always a line that should be followed to find out who's culpable when it comes to this woman's life being possibly saved in all of this, right? So I want to talk about compassion fatigue for a minute, because to me, it's very closely associated and can be integrated with us being numbed as a culture to people being unalived and people's lives being snuffed out from them. And we're going to transition into Charlie Kirk's situation, because this compassion fatigue, actually what we're going to do is there is, let me find it, because I did save it, but I do have to find it. There was a video of the onlookers that watched, and I don't know if this is it, but bear with me for a second. Yes. So when he walked off, there were these 5 people that observed what had just happened, or that were in the vicinity of what took place, right? And we're going to watch the footage, brief as it may be, of the reaction as she was stabbed and as the gentleman just vacated the premises, got up and walked off. And I know this seems like only a few seconds, but in reality, I'm sure that this probably seemed like a lifetime for those that were aware of what transpired as it was happening. So one of them walked off right away. Now, this woman done put her hand over her mouth. To my knowledge, she didn't yell, she didn't scream, she didn't call for help. In my opinion, she was probably in shock, because if you look at the footage prior to that, she was actually looking at her phone. So she didn't even see this coming. And for her to sit in the back of the train amongst these people, evidently she didn't feel or foresee much of a threat, if a threat at all. So the woman, okay, I thought I had to clip a little bit longer than that. So the woman actually saw it happen. So she grabbed her purse and she moved along. And the other ones did nothing, right? So this goes along to the point of the compassion fatigue. Again, I think that we have all been super exposed to violence to the point where it has left us indifferent. I won't even say numb. I would just say indifferent, to where it's become normalized. Those people froze, and then you got online a bunch of people laughing. That's what indifference looks like. if you want to say numbness, that's what numbness looks like. And once it's set in, the first casualty is usually empathy. So now we don't even have the ability to show empathy. And then we look at the role of social media. You know what trends? Cruelty. You know what doesn't trend? Kindness. You know what gets clicks? Outrage. Drama. Violence. You know what doesn't? Sympathy and empathy. The line seems to shrink every day between mockery and real world events. Exactly. I'm sure that they were in disbelief. I don't deny that. But even in the eyes of disbelief, just even 20 or 30 years ago, sis, somebody would have did something. You got grown men sitting behind her that didn't blink an eye or move. Once they realized what happened, because when the gentleman walked off, he had blood dripping down his arm to the point where he had to take off his shirt in order to secure the area that was dripping blood so he wouldn't seem so obvious. And nobody did or said nothing. He maneuvered on a whole train from one car to another or one end to another. Not really sure which one, but he was maneuvering, he was moving to the point where he had a whole conversation and made up a lie saying that, and you could hear him during the audio saying that she called him a nigger. YouTube, I'm just saying what was said in the audio tape. When you see her getting on the train and sitting down, she didn't look at anybody and have anything to say. She went right to her phone with her head down. But nobody intervened. Nobody said anything. Now, with that being said, again, Elon Musk donated $1 million, and you got President Trump, which is calling for the death penalty of this man that was released by a magistrate judge, has been diagnosed with schizophrenia. And there has actually been a recording as of yesterday where he spoke to someone and they recorded his voice where he said and he felt that he was taken over by something else to where he couldn't really remember what happened, whether that is true or whether it is not. The fact of the matter is that a seed was planted, because he's not the only one, or this isn't the only situation that has been brought to the forefront where there hasn't been mind-altering situations that has happened. Now, we can go down that rabbit hole, but for the sake of the content, I won't. Not this live stream. But what I will say is that in this situation and many others, including this woman as well as Charles Kirk, when the victim is of a Caucasian persuasion, the nation mourns. The headlines make headway and spread like wildfire, and all of the sympathy comes in. But when it's Black or brown lives taken, whether it's through violence, whether it's police brutality, or through community tragedy. The silence is deafening. Why is one life headline worthy while another life is just another statistic? Why is there selective empathy? The disparity sends a message not just to us, but one of the motivating reasons for me to do this live is it sends a message to our children that some lives matter more than others. Baby, that's not fatigue. That is systemic bias. And it's a wound we keep ignoring. Now let's transition and move to Charles Kirk. Now, I have been watching Charles Kirk intermittently throughout the years. I've seen clips that have gone viral, but it never struck my attention to hone in or to do research or to just possess a whole bunch of personal interest in what he had going on. And the reason is because I saw enough of his opinions, or as some may consider to be his rhetoric, that made me disinterested because I felt he was biased in a lot of areas. Now, I'm going to say up front that nobody, in my opinion, should be unalived and their families affected. Anybody connected to their lives affected based off of their personal opinion. Everybody, just like a butthole, everyone has an opinion. There are a lot of people out here that will vocalize their opinions. Should they be penalized for it? Especially if they're just vocalizing how they feel, what their belief system is. And just saying it out loud. But without further ado, I'm not going to make this like a long, drawn-out situation, but I am feeling passionate about it because, again, I'm for the children. Always have been, always will be. In the natural order of things, the parents are supposed to go before the children. And if we acquiesce and if we accept the natural order of things while we're here as the parents or the elders or the aunties or the uncles, while we have breath in our bodies and a voice to vocalize our experiences and what we believe, we have an obligation, in my opinion, to prepare them for what's coming because of the natural order of things. Now, again, I didn't follow this gentleman, but I was wondering why so many people felt the need to celebrate this man's demise. I couldn't understand that. And before we actually go to a video that he expresses that sentiment to where it gives you some type of context, I want to highlight this anesthesiologist, someone who is in care of people's lives by applying anesthesiology through surgical procedures. There are many people that don't even want to go through surgical procedures that are necessary or otherwise, whether they're cosmetic or whether they're medically necessary, because they consider the anesthesia that has to be applied while the procedure is being done. So keeping in the context, this is a person that puts their lives in her hands on a day-to-day basis. And this was her opinion and her feedback from when Charles Kirk, she learned of his passing.
Kirk just got himself fucking shot, because he's right. Empathy is dangerous to society. So no one should give a fuck that he's dead. He said it. I'm just saying his words. All I'm doing is using his words. You can't be mad at me for using his words. I think empathy is a new wave thing and is very problematic. You right. No empathy for you. Zero.
I want to play that again.
Charlie Kirk just got himself fucking shot, because he's right. Empathy is dangerous to society. So no one should give a fuck that he's dead. He said it. I'm just saying his words. All I'm doing is using his words. You can't be mad at me for using his words. I think empathy is a new wave thing and is very problematic. You right. No empathy for you. Zero.
What troubles me about her statement is, again, she's saying, oh, I used his words. Well, he's not administering anesthesia to those that depend on it to have successful surgical procedures. This is someone that is taking an oath to put human life first. You have to have some type of empathy and sympathy in order to do that. And so that made me question, why was he so hated? Or why was he so disliked to the point where you have people in the doctorate capacities out here saying, I ain't got no sympathy for that man. So I want to play a little bit of what now this. Okay, so the country is in an uproar. The country is in a state, and I don't mean everybody individually, I mean collectively as a whole. Who it applies to. But this is what he had to say in different scenarios and in different situations where he was speaking to the public and interacting with the public.
If I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
When blacks in America did not have the same rights they had today.
Okay, I want to play that again. I don't want that to slide past nobody.
If I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
When blacks in America did not have the same rights they had today, they were less murderous, there was less break-ins. Why is that? And the data shows they were actually better in the 1940s. It was bad, it was evil, but what happened?
A certain skin color now gets their own summertime celebration. Oh, wow, look how far blacks have come. It has now become a racial complaining day. Remember what BLM stands for: burn, loot, and murder.
Yeah, DEI stands for one of the...
So BLM doesn't stand for Black Lives Matter, though. Those that know, they understand what the origin of the acronym came from. But he reallocated that acronym to mean something else. And I want to just, for the sake, I want him to say it for himself.
BLM stands for burn, loot, and murder.
Yeah.
Burn, loot, and murder. Now, in fairness, I want to say that there are people of color that have exemplified that particular behavior. And it's been on multiple occasions. But they don't speak for people of color as a whole. And for his reach and his impact, I believe and feel that he should have specified that in his sentiments, in his belief. That's just my opinion.
DEI stands for
one of the
didn't
biggest.
earn it, just so we're clear.
Can we also acknowledge, due to the laws under Jim Crow, that Black people were significantly hindered from economic
Got it.
advancement?
This is a really important question. The data shows not really. Black Americans are poorer today in 2024 than they were in the 1950s.
But he also fails to acknowledge and state that any time in the 1950s and the 60s when Black people were prospering, why did they stop prospering? The shit was burned down. It was disseminated. Jim Crow laws were created. Civil rights was created. Equal rights in the barrage of equality was created. So he doesn't speak on the adversities and the setbacks and the intentionality of certain powers that be to disseminate and to intentionally disseminate the progression of people of color. He's just stating the facts. He's just stating the statistics that people are worse off in the 2020s than they were in the 1950s. It's fair to give context, an accurate context. Because back in the 1950s, Black people minded their own damn business. But did other races and classes of people mind their own business? Or did they see the progressions of Black people that minded their own business become a threat?
The disappearance of the Black father has been the number one driver of Black poverty in this country.
And why has the father become absent in the Black family? Look at the institutionalized and the federal programs that were implemented. In order to qualify, the father had to be removed and has to be removed because that is current, that is today, that is not of yesteryear. It is progressive. This has been going on for decades upon decades. First, you burn down this shit to make them seem inadequate, that they can't maintain it or hold on to it or build upon it. And then once you do that, you disarm them, make them vulnerable, then you go to the weaker vessel of the family, which is the mother and the woman. And you say, I'll help you. I'll give you, with certain criteria, some abilities to be able to sustain your family, but the pappy can't be in it. Now people are in survival mode because you've shattered a lot of their hopes and abilities to be able to sustain and grow their own families without intervention. And you've showed them fear. If you progress and you build, we're not going to let that happen. So the only choice you have is to let me help you, but under my terms. Okay? So, though I don't disagree with his statistics and his facts, he's leaving out context. And though I don't know a lot about this man's ability to be able to have the large impact and reach that he had, one thing that I quickly learned is that he was good at giving statistics and data, but you don't know the Black person's plight. And if you do, you left that out conveniently of the conversation. And you learned that when people of color came to give you pushback on the microphone, you just threw out more statistics and data. At some point, you're going to obtain some backlash and you're going to accrue some enemies. Not justifying what has happened. I'm just saying this is logic.
At least agree that black dads not being around is a bad thing.
Anyone's father not being around is a bad thing. Starting in the 1980s and continuing onward, there's been a war on drugs. Is this correct?
I like the war on drugs. Blacks commit more crimes than whites do. They commit more murders, they commit more arsons, they commit more kidnappings. That's not a war on drugs, that's a culture problem. Why are so many blacks committing murders outside of their population?
Why? When you take away their resources, their ability to be able to sustain their families, when you take away the ability and you make it disproportionate for people to be able to obtain home ownership, to accrue real estate, you make sure that they do not learn financial literacy. Not only that, but you limit the jobs and the occupations for the bottom of the barrel. And then you make them believe that they're actually successful if they are successful in maintaining those bottom of the barrel jobs for 20 or 30 years of their life. And then when they grow too old to work full time, you don't even grant them retirement enough to be able to sustain themselves, much less any of their families or their children or grandchildren thereafter. That's bothersome. And I know that this may not be easy content for some people to hear. However, as Kwame Brown says often, the truth cannot be disrespectful. And context, in my words, is important. It is unfair to just demean and belittle groups of people because you don't like them or understand them, when they haven't been able to play on an even playing ground in forever. This country was not built on equality. It was built on disparity and pushing narratives, in my opinion.
We've spent $20 trillion on uplifting black communities, $20 trillion, and black Americans are...
How many of those black people paid into those taxes of $20 trillion? It is known and a proven fact that the lower class pays more in taxes than the rich. So let's talk about where that money comes from, or do we have to talk about it? I'm just saying, let's give it context. Let's put it in its proper place. Just spewing facts and data, one would ask, at least I would ask, where is that data and context coming from? What sources? Is there transparency on the statistics and the origin of the data? Because that would also give it some needed context. Instead of just stating what newspaper articles or what media platforms has stated, and then you take it and run with it. Let's call a spade a spade. But let's not call a spade a heart just because you say so. Let's give it some depth. Let's give it the truth, and let's give it context. That's all we asking. We can do the own footwork of ourselves. We can sustain our own families if you get out of our way. If you do things that do not suppress us and keep us from doing so. People of color, most of the time, just want to be left alone. And now that collectively so many have been broken down, it has put you in a prime position to be exalted, to make it appear as if you're smarter, you're wittier, you're more capable, when in essence, you have pretty much just been privy and had access to information that a lot of other people have been prohibited from accessing through extensive measures. Look at the public education system. You don't even have to be able to read to graduate nowadays. When you have parents and the responsible ones in the household having to work just to survive, to pay $2,000 in rent for an apartment, to pay exorbitant property taxes because communities are being gentrified, just to show that Black people don't really have no place. They don't have no sense of belonging. They don't have nothing they can call their own. Doesn't make you better. Just makes you more privy to information. All the while, information is being suppressed to those they don't want it to get out to. I'm just saying.
Food
Being
stamps,
asked-
subsidized housing, Medicaid, public schooling, subsidized college. We're talking about $20 trillion have been spent on the Great Society, and yet Black America is poorer, more murderous, more dangerous.
Part of
What does
equity
equity mean?
is
you mean taking
allowed-
from other people? Like,
Put people that don't have a means to survive into a situation where they have to find a way to survive. Whether they are melanated or not melanated, the outcome is going to be the same. People are going to find a way. They're going to make a way. How convenient it is just to vilify people of color in a culture where people of color, there has been so much invested to make sure that they don't get the information that they need. Now I'm going to shift because I done spent enough time on that and I said what I had to say. I'm always talking about solutions. Reclaiming empathy. Whether you receive it or you don't, whether you agree or you don't, I'm going to say it anyway. Reclaiming empathy starts with you. It starts with me. It starts with those that are connected to us. It's okay on social media to pause before regurgitating violence, before regurgitating cruelty, before regurgitating bringing down one another in superficial beefs and things that don't matter in real life, though. One thing we have lost that really saddens me, that I want to bring up, is that speaking up for victims who get ignored, whether it's through our food, whether it's through our water, whether it's through our air, all of the things above, conditioning, programming, whatever, however you look at it, whatever your belief system is, as a culture, we have become way more passive, way more accepting, instead of stepping up where it counts. When it comes to our children, we should be teaching our children that every life has value, despite one's opinion, regardless of color, regardless of politics, or regardless of background. We should be at a point in 2025 where either all lives have value or none do. There should be no middle ground whatsoever. It's easy to say how we in 2025 and we should be here and we should be here and we should be here collectively as a country. But culturally, the dynamics are different depending on what culture you're speaking on. Because this live stream is not just about Iryna Zarutska or Charlie Kirk. At the end of the day, it's about us. It's about what is going to happen if we keep going down this path of desensitivity, of being desensitized and not recognizing what the plan has been and how it's working. Only acknowledgement can reverse it. If we are living and continue to live into a society that lacks any empathy, we will not survive. We will not survive. Humanity is imperative in any culture. You can't just value death and not value life. If we refuse selective compassion, selective being the operative word, we can rebuild a culture that values life again. We can't keep going down the trajectory that when we click on certain social media platforms that still choose and think it's okay to air people losing life on camera in real time. The one thing that I want to say is that no matter what happens and who it happens to, if it happens on social media or on camera where it can't be erased, my condolences, my sympathy, and my empathy goes out to those families that are connected to that victim. Nobody should be unalived for their opinion. Everybody has one. I know that this live has only been just a little over an hour long, but I'm drained. Because while I've been speaking over and over in my mind again, I can't possibly imagine something so private, something so sacred, something so personal to be privy for the world to see and reverberated over so many times that those connected to you can't even be on social media. They can't click on a computer. They can't go to the news. They can't go to certain platforms. In the past 24 hours, just speaking of Charlie Kirk, I have seen this man die 1,000 deaths when he only died one time. Is there a line anymore? Is there a threshold anymore? Is there a limit? Is there a line that you just don't cross? Does it exist anymore? It's bothersome to me. And it's sad that it makes me grateful that at least that hasn't been my story up until this point. No child should be subjected to that, and no child should have to pay for the sins of their mothers and their fathers in that way, in my opinion. That's demon work for me. In my opinion, that's of a demonic nature. However, there's a connection. That is one thing that I have learned to become grateful for, is that at least for today, my children don't have to relive my transition with the world in conjunction with people that don't know you, that don't have no connection to you, that make you a news clip, that make you a story, that make you a paycheck. So people are monetizing off of the demise of other people. It just doesn't seem to be any lines anymore that seem to be crossed. If you don't have any lines, then you don't have any barometers, then anything goes, in my opinion. At what point are we okay? And is there a threshold anymore? That man that took out Charlie Kirk, no matter what his position was, no matter how he expressed it, he got 2 babies and a wife that we know of. I'm sure a lot of people loved him. No matter what his stance was, why should they have to pay by being traumatized for the rest of their lives on watching how he went? And a side note, that was a sharpshooter. That bullet, based off of what we know, went in his chest and came out his neck from at least 900 yards. When sharpshooters start at 200, and everything from your breathing patterns to the optics, to the lenses, to the type of GUN that you're using, there are so many different components that whoever did this knew exactly what they were doing. And I think it's shameful that social media has become so popularized to where they were blaming people that were not at fault. We don't know what to believe anymore. But again, what we saw, his children will be subjected to 15, 20 years from now, if we still here at that point. It's a rabbit hole. And it's a rabbit hole I don't think I'm willing to go down in this particular situation. Some things are my fight and some things are not. But I wanted to bring this to the forefront because I wanted to express the disparities when it comes to the particular complexion that's put on the line as to how much publicity and acknowledgement it gets. And shout out to Elon Musk for donating $1 million for this young lady that he never met. Donating to murals being placed all across his country. But shout out to Nia Wilson. I'm going to show it one more time before we get up out of here. I gotta find it, y'all. Hold on.
In the white shirt. This is 18-year-old Nia Wilson. She is getting off the train like many other people in this crowded station. Watch again. This time, pay attention to the man behind her in the white and gray hoodie. He follows her off the train, pulling his hood down and taking off his sunglasses. He looks around as if to plan an escape route. Then he reaches down, pulling something out of his pant leg. Look closer. The item he pulled out is a knife. He quickly covers it up with his sweatshirt. No one else in the busy train station has noticed. The girl he's following, Nia, is on her way home with two of her older sisters. Moments later, he attacks, stabbing her 2 times in the neck. In July of 2018, a tragedy unfolded that would shock a community, ignite national conversations, and leave many with questions.
Unfortunately, those questions or that media attention never reached someone like me. I found this story on YouTube. I didn't find this on a major network. I'm not saying it wasn't aired on a major network news platform. All I'm saying is I never saw it. But yet and still, no disrespect to Miss Iryna, but the acknowledgement and the publicity and the support that she and her people are receiving, and the backlash for those that lack to respond is astounding. It's astounding. Miss Yo Thought says, we must remember to pay attention to our surroundings at all times. Now, I have been fortunate enough to where I can't say I've been on a train, not without intentionality, not as a form of commute, right? But when I go into a grocery store, my head is on a swivel. When I pull up in a parking lot, I sit there for a minute to peruse my surroundings with my doors locked, especially if I'm alone and even if I'm not alone. One of the reasons I don't like to go out a whole lot is because it drains my energy to do so, because I understand that I need to be aware of my surroundings. Situational awareness is what it's called nowadays. Situational awareness. If you are out in public amongst people you do not know, and particularly if you are a female, and even more so if you are alone, you need to know everything in your surroundings. Even if it takes for you, I understand people go to work all day, you got to go to the grocery store, you get off late, you're in the parking lot, you just want to get the hell what you need to get, and you need to get home. That can cost you. That can cost you dearly if you're not aware, and if you don't just take a moment. And I try to do this at certain points in my life because I have a very busy lifestyle. It is so easy for me to move fluidly through my day just to accomplish my goals and not be situationally aware. I'm telling you, every day is costing people their lives when you don't know what's going on around you. If you can help it, very few people, male and female, should be going out at night unless you're working. But even so, if you do, and even in broad daylight, case your surroundings, check them out. Take some self-defense classes. If you can't go in person, YouTube University is always good. Invest in yourself. You are worth being here, being present, and being alive for those that love you. It's not that big of a deal as far as time goes when you look at it in the prospect or in the construct of staying alive, staying well, staying healthy, invest in you. We are living in the informational age. We don't have no excuses. I've lived in several decades of my life where I was unaware and uninformed because we didn't have social media. We didn't have the resources and stuff that we have now. At this point, we don't have no excuses, especially with artificial intelligence coming up. As they're eliminating jobs, utilize that resource to be able to protect yourself, to inform your families. Utilize it as a resource where they intended it to be a weapon. That's all I'm saying. That part. Read it and interpret it as you will. Always be protected. Always be protected. That part. Come on with it, Agent Smitty. We got your thoughts. Cutting edges in the building. Come on with it, Kimar. Listen. Listen. Exactly. If you can avoid going out at night, please do so. But if you cannot, take a partner with you. Whatever that partner looks like. When we say this is a survival of the fittest, that's exactly what is going on. You got a whole man out here that has had a reach and an impact across the world, not just across this country. And he had a security team. And that sharpshooter, in my opinion, allegedly was able to circumvent all of that. And now he can't be here for his family. Instead of using it to fearmonger, let's use it as a tool and a reminder that our lives are definitely fallible. And as easily as we got here, we can leave just as easy, if not easier. So with that being said, I appreciate everybody coming through. That's it. Easy did it. Stay alert. Look, and I'm going to say this because him saying that really ignited something in me. It's okay to smoke. It's okay to take you a libation every now and again. I would rather, if it were me, and you can call me an old head, but what I'll call me is experienced. I've seen it on both ends. I've seen people inebriated out in public, and I have seen it at home, including myself. And I'm much more comfortable partaking of mind-altering substances at home. Now, we can fool ourselves into thinking that we can smoke and drink or do other things, whether it's prescription drugs. I don't know what your thing is, if anything. If it don't apply, let it fly, right? But what I will say is that when you are out and about in unknown territory, I don't care if it's going to the grocery store. I don't care if it's at a gas station. I don't care if you just on them streets navigating from point A to point B, going from one house to the next house. I don't care if you're taking a drive. I don't care if you just need to get out the house. I don't care if you're going from one state to the next and one city to the next. Do not underestimate the power of sobriety. It's easy to smoke a spliff than get behind the wheel of a car because you don't want to have to go off and cuss somebody out and have road rage. But will your reflexes be on point? The same with taking a drink. All I'm saying is be responsible, know your limitations, know your capabilities, know what you can stand and withstand. And a lot of times only life's fuck ups will teach you that. That's usually what gets our attention. It is okay to navigate out in the public, especially in this time that we living in. I'm not comfortable going out fucked up. I'm just not. If I'm going to partake, that means I don't want to go nowhere else. I ain't got no plans to leave the house. My gas is got, my groceries are in the house. Emergencies do happen. I'm not speaking on that. What I'm speaking on is your day-to-day movement. Take it the way you want to take it. If it don't apply, let it fly. If you don't think, if you think that you can just do whatever you want and then go out and navigate in this world the same way as you do when you got a clear head and you don't have anything going on, as far as partaking, so be it. Then don't pay me no mind. But for those that it has affected, that you done got pulled over, you done cussed somebody out where you normally wouldn't have cussed them out in that type of a circumstance, because now you on edge because you done tilted, tilted a little bit to the left or tilted to a little bit right. You better talk about it. Coherence, sobriety, awareness, situational awareness. The best parties are at home, where you are in the protection of your own environment and you don't have to be mobile. Now, you've been doing it 20 years and ain't nothing happened to you in 20 years and you good, then you good. Then this may not apply to you. But even if so, just plant it in the seed of the back of your brain. Because what happened 20 years ago, we not living in the same world 20 years ago we living in 2025. Things have changed drastically from 2020. Talk to me. Let's talk about it. Shit ain't the same from 2 years ago in my life than it is today. And the more you have to lose, the more critical your decisions should be. I would lean more on the side of caution than I would on the side of non-awareness or of carelessness or of just throwing caution to the wind, as we would say back in the day. Don't ignore your first thought. Don't ignore your discernment, however you define it. Don't ignore your first mind. Don't ignore if somebody that you know is wise is in your ear and they say something and it seemed like it was erroneous or it wasn't, the timing of it wasn't all that great in your opinion or didn't make sense in your opinion. Don't ignore it. God could be trying to tell you something. He uses fools. He uses children. He will use animals. He will use birds. He will use flies. He will use crickets. He will use the wind. He will use the rain. That's why discernment is so important. I'm just saying. I could go on and on. I'm going to highlight this last one, and then I'm going to get the hell on up out of here. The children are watching. They do what you do and not what you say. That's a mic drop, because that was my motivation for doing this live, is that I don't want our children so desensitized. I'm going to show, okay, I know I lied, so I'm going to go back. I'm going to show this one other video, and it's disturbed my whole spirit as of the judgment. Give me a second. I got to pull it up, y'all. Give me one moment here. Ain't going to take me long. Excuse the profanity, but this is what I don't want. I understand. Let me just preface this by saying I understand where the sister is coming from as far as her frustration goes, but this information can reach the wrong people and really mess up the culture if enough people listen to it. That's why I'm showing this. Let's go.
Care. We do not care. We do not care. Speaking from a scorned black woman living in America with PTSD. We do not care. I've seen so many black men get unalived by the hands of the motherfucking government. I've seen my people on live stream get pew down by white supremacists. I've seen black people get hung in 2025 in sundown towns. We do not care.
Now that may be true. That may be true. Hold on a second, y'all. That may be true. I wanted to vocalize this or give her the opportunity to say what she had to say on my platform to emphasize that just because you feel that way, sometimes we have to be mindful of the message it sends and the information it conveys to our children. If we make our children angry, if we frustrate our children, if we make our children biased in a world or in a culture or in a country where they promote on the surface unbiasedness, what does this message send to our children? I don't agree with her message nor the way she is conveying it, but I wanted to illuminate this because there are a lot of people of color that feel exactly this way, including those that have large platforms, voices that reach far and wide. As small as my voice is, it's going to reach who it needs to reach. But I don't want this to be magnified as acceptable behavior because words matter. Again, everybody should be entitled to their opinion. They should be entitled to have their opinions without always feeling like they're going to be cussed out, criticized, bemeaned, belittled, or demeaned, belittled, and made to feel small. But unfortunately, we are living in a time where, again, drama sells. Disagreements prevail. Those that go against the grain take precedence. We cannot continue to fuel and facilitate this type of venom and then say we're leaving a legacy for our children. That's problematic in my opinion. Let's hear her out.
I don't care about this YT woman. I don't care about that. And I'm never going to care. I'm never going to motherfucking care. Because black people don't never get motherfucking justice. We don't have an anti-bill to protect us against police brutality or fucking hate crimes committed against black people. We don't have these things. So I don't care. You can't force me to care. Black folks, stop making videos saying that you care because you shouldn't fucking care. I don't give a fuck about this. I don't care. I'm never going to care. I'm never going to care. But if it's a person that looks like me, I'm going to care because we never motherfucking get justice. So I don't give a fuck about this white.
Okay, so let me just say this. God is over all and he provides the ultimate justice. Facts. On a small scale, individually, we can make a difference in our own communities by voting locally, by going to city committee meetings. Let's just start out by going to school conferences or anything that impacts or affects our children's education. I get it through this app that my son goes to school at. Congratulations to my son. He's going to be graduating this year. Ooh, Lord have mercy. I take my hat off to parents that are parenting children in this day and time that we living in, with the alphabet community, with the curriculums being switched up the way that they have been, and that they continuously, in my opinion, are under attack. They're not concerned in a large scale about our children being educated as being informed of an agenda that's being pushed. I have been fighting against that agenda that my son has gone to and through the education system. We spend a lot of time uneducating and re-educating. I wish I could homeschool, but my schedule and my availability started too late. It just started too late. But what I do is I make sure when I'm there to drop him off and I'm there to pick him up. And the first thing we do, if I'm not handling business when I pick him up, and even if I am, guess what? Before he gets sent off to wherever he's going, football practice or wherever, we talking about his day. I'm in his apps. I'm looking. I'm asking questions. All of his teachers know me. His professors know me because he goes to middle college. So by the time he graduates, he will have an associate's. He'll only have 2 years in a 4-year degree. Ever since he was in kindergarten, I remember going through my cancer journey. I remember one day I had hair and the next day I went into the classroom because all of his teachers and me were like this. And I went in bald-headed, straight bald, because I rocked my bald. Baby, I owned what I went through at all times in my life. I stayed in the loop. I would sit in the class after chemotherapy. I would sit in the class. I'd be nodding out, but I'd be in the class, in the back of the class, and I'd be like, yo, if I was alert or lucid enough, I'd be like, answer this for me. Stayed in the office, principal, assistant principal, the staff in the office, up to the little underclassmen or 11 or 12th graders that worked at the front desk. Everybody knew me and I knew them. So if I couldn't homeschool him, they was going to know I was up in his business and I'm up in yours too. I care about the education of my child. I know I done got off track, but y'all know, anybody that knows I'm passionate about our children. Our children, not just mine, but children in general. I have the foresight and the empathy to be able to see if God was to relieve me of my earthly duties today, what did I do and what did I contribute to the welfare of our children before I took my last breath? Come on, let's talk about it. Miss Yo on her live. Go check out her live earlier today, right before I went live. God bless my sis. Her anniversary of losing her brother, or his birthday. I'm sorry, his birthday is today. Ironically, 9/11. Filled with emotion. But she spoke some real shit. Almost to the point where I didn't really want to do this live today. I wanted to switch it and do something that was relative to me and my personal life, where I could use it as a testimony. But I know me, I can tie my shit into whatever I'm talking about, right? Go check out her live today. if I have any mods, please drop her link to her channel in the chat. I appreciate you. I know I haven't been as attentive to the chat as I normally am, but I couldn't afford to do that today because I needed to stay on course. This message is truly important to me because we do not want to become so desensitized as a people that we lose our ability to become empathetic to people being unalived right before our very eyes. Even if that was done 2, 3, 5 hours or 2 days before we realized it, by the time we realize it or see it, that's in real time for us. And we got people that just don't have any empathy because of what a certain person, their belief system is. Listen, I appreciate y'all. I really do. I appreciate y'all. I'm going to stop here. I know it was heavy. I know it was a lot. For those that are coming in and catching the replay, I appreciate y'all if y'all made it to this point. To my mods, to my members, to my course supporters, to those that are just tuning in, I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all. For those that are content creators, we know that this ain't the easiest thing in the world. It takes a lot of energy, preparation, research, thought. And at the end of it all, when you click that end live button, you be like, oh, okay, I can woosah. But prior to that, that shit be intense. I watched my Laverne today, and we talked on the phone before she went live, and I kept telling her, once you done, you gonna feel better. She was full. She had too much going on. She needed to release it, and that was her way of doing so. Thank goodness that she's able to do it through this thing here where she can reach people while she's doing it. I can relate to that. I think a lot of content creators are underestimated. Their efforts are underestimated. Now, I'm not talking about, now content is content. I'm not saying that one area of content is any better or less, or that's not what I'm saying. I think any content creator that feels like they have to go through preparation, that they have to prepare, that they have to do research, that they have to worry about the optics, that they have to worry about, then when you go live, you got to juggle with the chat, you got to juggle with, you got to worry about how stuff come off. If that's your thing, some people don't give a shit. That's fine. Some do. But what I'm saying is shout out to the content creators that absolutely put their best foot forward in order to share the information with the people. And they use it as a form of therapy, but not to hurt, but to heal and to help and to inform. Shout out to y'all. Because this is a calling. This ain't listen, this gotta be a calling. Because you don't get paid for the shit that you put into it. Ask any content creator that's got less than 100,000 followers. You ain't got to ask no further than me. I tell you. Okay? So, listen. V said it's getting heavy in here. Shout out to Laverne, Miss Yo Thoughts, a.k.a. Laverne. That part. So with that being said, I know I done said goodbye 500 times. For those that came in later in the replay, I think it's worth it for you to go at least somewhat to the beginning. Hopefully I conveyed my message, or at least my thoughts and the reason for doing this live stream. Love on somebody. Appreciate their presence in your life. If you haven't reached out to somebody lately and they've been on your heart and your mind, text them, give them a call. Hell, send them an email. If you too busy to do any of those steps, reach out to them somehow and let them know at least you've been thinking about them, that you give a shit, that you care, that they've been on your mind. You may actually not know it, but you may be saving somebody from something on that particular moment. I've had that happen to me a couple of times, not knowing why I was reaching out to somebody, but being obedient, I did it. And they say, you don't know how much I needed this, or this prevented me from going off on somebody, or this prevented me from hurting somebody, including myself. So with that being said, I appreciate y'all. Thank you to everybody that chatted, kept up the engagement. Thank you to my mods. Thank you to my members. Thank you to my chat. Thank you to those that are catching the replay, those that sat in the bushes. All of the appreciation is equivalent. And yeah, I'll see y'all next time. With that being said, I'm out, y'all. Once I find how to get my ass off this stage. All right, y'all.
Fit in no box, I built my own lane. Truth's my compass and passion's my flame. One day it's love, the next is new. Sometimes it's pain, sometimes it's the blues. I react, I reflect, I keep it 100. No scripts, no gimmicks, just thoughts unbundled. So if you feel truth, if real is what you see, you just found home. Welcome to Miss Akemi.